Netflix has a fantasy problem. Not a lack of fantasy, but the problem is that the algorithm buries the good stuff under whatever it spent the most money producing this week. So while you're being shown the same 5 titles every time you open the app, there are 10 fantasy films sitting on the platform right now that range from genuinely entertaining guilty pleasures to a $150 million live-action remake that somehow still isn't getting the audience it deserves. So let's dive into 10 fantasy films Netflix is hiding from you.
The last time God lost faith in man, he sent a flood. This time, he sent angels.
Kicking things off at number 10, Legion. And look, a 5.3 is not a recommendation, it's a disclaimer. But this film has a specific, loyal cult following for very good reasons. Director Scott Stewart, working with a budget of $26 million, built a supernatural action film around one of the most purely committed casting choices of its year. Paul Bettany as the Archangel Michael, who cuts off his own wings, steals a police car, and drives to a remote desert diner in the Mojave to protect a pregnant waitress whose unborn child may be the last hope for humanity after God loses faith in the human race and sends his legion of angels to end it. Dennis Quaid and Tyrese Gibson play the strangers trapped in the diner alongside him. It made $67.9 million on a $26 million budget. It is violent, ridiculous, and completely committed to its own absurd premise.
He'll come after me. He'll come after you.
That's something I'm absolutely counting on.
It's a trap.
At number 9, Priest. This is Paul Bettany's second appearance in this list, which tells you something specific about his taste in apocalyptic genre cinema. Director Scott Stewart adapts the Korean manhwa comic series of the same name, set in an alternate universe where humanity and vampires have waged war for centuries. The war is over. The vampires lost. The warrior priests who defeated them have been disbanded and absorbed back into a totalitarian theocratic society. When something from his past forces a veteran priest, played by Bettany, back into action, he breaks his vows and leaves the walled city, defying the church that trained him. Carl Urban, Lily Collins, and Christopher Plummer round out a cast that commits completely to a post-apocalyptic Western vampire world, unlike anything else in the genre. It made $78.3 million on a $60 million budget. Its visual world deserved a better film, and the film it is still worth your time.
There's one human who could lead them against Hyperion. It would be Theseus.
At number 8, Immortals. Director Tarsem Singh, who made The Cell and The Fall, built one of the most visually extraordinary fantasy action films of its decade on a $75 million budget, and most people have only vague memories of it existing. Henry Cavill, before Man of Steel made him Superman, plays Theseus, a mortal man chosen by Zeus to lead the fight against the ruthless King Hyperion, played by Mickey Rourke, who is waging a war of destruction across Greece with an army that threatens to consume everything in its path. John Hurt, Stephen Dorff, and Luke Evans round out the cast. The action sequences are choreographed like moving paintings, every frame designed with Singh's distinctive visual obsessiveness. He described his approach as Caravaggio meets Fight Club. It made $226 million worldwide. It still doesn't get nearly enough credit for being as visually inventive as it is.
I'd like you to tell me about Mama.
No. What's wrong? I don't want you to care.
At number 7, Mama. Guillermo del Toro is the producer, which is the single most important piece of context you need before watching it. Andres Muschietti, in his feature debut, expanded his own 2008 short film into a supernatural horror that del Toro saw and immediately wanted to bring to a wider audience. Jessica Chastain plays Annabelle, a punk rocker whose life is upended when her boyfriend's 2 young nieces, who disappeared into the forest 5 years earlier, are found alive and brought to live with them. The girls have been surviving in the wild, and they did not survive alone. What that means for the family that takes them in is something the film earns the right to show you. It made $146 million worldwide on a $35 million budget, and is one of the most underappreciated supernatural horror films of the decade. Del Toro's fingerprints are all over it in the best possible way.
What is it you are seeking?
I want the power to destroy my enemies and save my family.
At number 6, Dracula Untold. This is the most unfairly dismissed film on this list. A genuinely interesting origin story for Vlad the Impaler's transformation into Dracula that most critics buried before anyone had a chance to form their own opinion. Director Gary Shore, in his feature debut, cast Luke Evans as Vlad, a Transylvanian prince and former Ottoman warrior trying to protect his people and his family from a Turkish army that demands a tribute of 1,000 Transylvanian boys as soldiers. Facing an impossible military situation, Vlad makes a deal with an ancient power that offers him what he needs. What that deal requires of him is something the film earns the right to show you. Dominic Cooper plays the Turkish Sultan Mehmed. It made $217 million worldwide on a $70 million budget. It is significantly better than its 26% Rotten Tomatoes score suggests.
This is like a nuclear weapon that grants wishes.
That's whatever you want. You want to be taller or shorter?
At number 5, Bright. This Netflix original is the most divisive film on this list. Critics absolutely destroyed it, and audiences watched it in enormous numbers. Director David Ayer, who also made Fury and End of Watch, built a world where orcs, elves, and humans have always coexisted, and set a police procedural in contemporary Los Angeles within it. Will Smith plays Daryl Ward, a veteran LAPD officer partnered with Nick Jacoby, played by Joel Edgerton in full orc prosthetics, the first orc police officer in LAPD history. When the two of them encounter a young elf woman and a magic wand during a routine call, the night becomes something far more dangerous than either of them bargained for. Noomi Rapace plays the villain. It reportedly drew 11 million viewers in its first 3 days on Netflix, one of the platform's biggest numbers at the time. A sequel has been in development ever since. At number 4, 47 Ronin. This is one of the most expensively produced, misunderstood films of its decade. A feudal Japan fantasy epic that Universal spent $225 million producing and watched earn $151 million back. Director Carl Rinch loosely adapted the legendary true story of the 47 masterless samurai who avenged their feudal lord's death in the 18th century Japan, weaving in elements of Japanese mythology, demons, and sorcery alongside the historical framework. Keanu Reeves plays Kai, a half-breed outcast and trained fighter who joins the 47 in their mission. Hiroyuki Sanada plays the samurai lord Oishi. Rinko Kikuchi plays the sorceress. The action sequences are visually inventive and beautifully choreographed. The world building is richer than the film's reputation suggests. Watch it as a sumptuous, flawed fantasy epic rather than a historical film, and it delivers considerably more than its reviews implied.
It's okay.
At number 3, How to Train Your Dragon. And this one is not hidden at all, but it is being overlooked by anyone who dismissed it as an unnecessary live-action remake without watching it. Director Dean DeBlois, who co-wrote and directed the original 2010 animated film and its sequels, returned to adapt his own story for live action, and made something that is, by nearly every critical measure, one of the best live-action adaptations of an animated film ever produced. Mason Thames plays Hiccup, an oddball Viking teenager who defies centuries of tradition on the Isle of Berk when he encounters an injured Night Fury dragon he cannot bring himself to kill. Gerard Butler reprises his role as Stoic the Vast from the original. It made $636 million worldwide on a $150 million budget.
You sure about this?
No.
We can't leave. They won't let us.
At number 2, The Maze Runner. And this is the dystopian franchise starter that arrived in the same era as The Hunger Games and Divergent, and somehow never got the respect its quality deserved. Director Wes Ball, who went on to direct Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, adapted James Dashner's novel with Dylan O'Brien as Thomas, a teenager who wakes up with no memory in a massive enclosed glade, surrounded by an enormous, constantly shifting maze. He is not the first. A community of boys has been living in the glade for years, with no explanation of why they are there or who put them there. The maze opens every morning and closes every night, and nobody who has gone in after dark has ever come back. It made $348 million worldwide on a $34 million budget. If you never started this trilogy, start here.
If we do not unite, our world will perish.
This doesn't need to happen. There is one who may help us.
For orcs, there is...
And at number 1, Warcraft. And this is the most genuinely misunderstood blockbuster on this list. Director Duncan Jones, who made Moon and Source Code, took the most beloved video game franchise in history, spent $160 million, and delivered a fantasy epic that critics in the United States completely dismissed, and audiences in China made the highest-grossing video game film of all time up to that point. The film follows the first war between humans and orcs, told from both sides equally, with the orcs given full humanity, motivation, and a culture the film treats with complete seriousness. Ben Foster, Travis Fimmel, Paula Patton, and Dominic Cooper lead the human side. Toby Kebbell performs the motion capture work for the orc warrior Duratan in a physically and emotionally extraordinary performance. The film made $433 million worldwide. The US audience barely showed up, and the rest of the world understood exactly what it was.